SEC this week finally issued a blanket investor alert about the potential dangers of investments in and with the virtual currency, Bitcoin, and other digital currencies like it. MarketWatch's Chuck Jaffe says it was too little, but not entirely too late, and he joins us to talk about it. Chuck, when I read the SEC, the investor alert, my first thought was, well, this does kind of seem like any investment, advice for any investment that you should be wary of scammers, fraudsters, hucksters, and it's unbelievable that they're harder to suss out than they are.
Well, the interesting thing to me was that, it was kind of like, really, you waited this long and this is what you came out with? I mean, it didn't feel like they were saying anything new, with one really interesting exception. The one thing that they kind of focused on, let's be perfectly honest. You and I know from talking to folks who are very involved in Bitcoin and with cryptocurrencies that they are true believers, that they really are very focused on wanting this to work. And the SEC statement did sort of make a point that, oh, by the way, that potentially makes you more vulnerable. Their warnings are a little bit different. They normally would apply to things like affinity fraud and what have you, but that's kind of what it felt like here. And indeed, the one or two cases that regulators have been able to bring, usually they're bringing them because there's something missing that, well, you or I, if we're not all hyped up about the cryptocurrencies, we'd look and say, oh, yeah, where's the warning? Where's the danger signs? But the other guys, they're blowing past it because they so believe.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because you think of your, sort of stereotypical Bitcoin person, right? Tech savvy, you would imagine educated, you would think very sharp, but there are people, obviously, who are getting fooled on the financial side.
Well, I think the other thing here is that because it is still all so new, they just don't necessarily recognize all the things that could go wrong, or they want to suspend belief that they can go wrong. And the real thing with that is that what the statement from the SEC really proved, there's nobody to help you. Right. If this goes wrong, the regulators are basically going to be able to look at you and go, I kind of told you so. And that's about as much as they're going to be able to do.
Right. And, honestly, if I get suckered into a scam where the guy promises me, a guaranteed 1,000% in 3 weeks or something, whose fault is that? Well, honestly, whose fault is that, Chuck Jaffe?
It's your own fault. But here's the thing. The interesting thing is, what I think a lot of Bitcoin folks don't necessarily understand is they think, well, hey, if I can buy something with Bitcoin, that makes it good or that makes it better. And the truth is, when it comes to investing, if you convert cash to Bitcoin and convert Bitcoin to investment, you're going to have a very tough time recovering, where if you just gave them cash to invest, you might have an easier time recovering.
Yeah.
And so all the things that you think, oh, this is a benefit of Bitcoin, they hurt you if you fall victim to it. And yes, it would be your own fault for doing it. But the fact is, there are some of these things where it's your own fault that you fell for a con man, but the regulators can still help you. You may have the same thing with Bitcoin, but they may not be able to help you because you switched out of conventional currency.
Right. All right, Chuck Jaffe, always bringing us the big plot twists. Thanks a lot.
You bet.